Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today I'm with the Veronica Sawyer, Jenna Innes.
Hi,
How
hello.
are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to chat to you all about Heather's, Les Mis, your time in the industry so far. Would you like to say how you got into the industry and where you are, just for viewers that are listening?
Sure. So how I got into the industry, it's so funny, isn't it? Because so many people ask this question, and and I think they're looking for a way to like, oh, I'll do that. And there's so many different, I'm sure you've spoken to so many different people, and everyone's little like journey, as it was, is so different. So
So
there's not like
different.
one way to do it, which I think is so lovely. So I'm from Aberdeen, up in Scotland. And I just there wasn't really much in my city, so I just joined local amateur dramatic groups that I knew of, that my friends went to, that put on shows every year. That's really how I started, and I did Stagecoach um on a Saturday afternoon. That's really it until I moved to I didn't have any sort of formal form of training when I was a teenager or anything, because there just wasn't anything like that when I was
Yeah.
growing up in Aberdeen. So yeah, it was mostly just the Amdram, watching things on YouTube, listening to as much theatre as I could. Um, and then when I was 20, I moved to London to go to drama school after auditioning for, I think, maybe 2 years or three. On my third year, I got in to drama school. Um, then I moved to London when I was 20, and then I did 2 years there, and then graduated and just sort of slowly started auditioning and going in for different projects and things like that, and slowly started booking little jobs here and there for a couple of years until I booked Les Mis, which
Amazing.
was then from Les Mis starting in 2019, when I was only really meant to do 5 weeks. It ended up being 4 years of my life, which was amazing.
Wow.
I know. I
And that
know.
went over lockdown, I assume.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That so I did, yeah, 2019, 5 weeks, and then I did the international tour for
Wow.
6 months before lockdown. And then Lima's kept me afloat all throughout lockdown, kept paying us, kept um did the concert throughout lockdown 2021, which was a huge lifeline. We weren't sure. I mean, you remember the time, it was 4 years ago now, but you remember it. We're like, we weren't sure if theatre was going to come back,
I
because
know.
it was the first thing to shut down. So we were like, we're going to be shut for 5 years, 10 years. Like, we don't know. We had no idea. So then when the concert started coming back, I was like, oh my God, it was like a little lifeline. I was like, theatre's alive. It's okay.
Yeah. I came to see that concert and I was like,
Did
oh,
you?
yeah. It was, oh, I can't remember like how many shows I'd seen after lockdown. I saw Six was the first one I saw straight after lockdown. And then I saw the Les Mis concert. And I just remember being like, oh, theatre's back. It's not back yet, fully.
No,
And you
no.
had to sit like 3 seats apart.
Yes. So the theater was always like half full, but it was people were there. People were there. They were masked up, but it was worth. So that was a huge um like lifeline. And then so then it was another 2 years I did of Les Mis, just mixing between town tour, and then I finished that. And then literally 2 weeks later I started Heather's, which never happens in this industry. You always have, well, certainly from my experience, there's always like a gap, or
Yeah.
like you don't work for a little while. So to go from one into a straight into another job is quite rare. So
Yeah.
I'm probably
Very,
lucky
very
and
lucky.
taking it now.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about Les Mis for a bit because you got to cover some big roles.
Yeah. Yes, I covered Eponine. That was how I initially went in, as a cover Eponine. Um, and I loved covering. I love covering. I think it's a really hard job. It's a really, really
Yes.
hard position to be in. And I think during COVID, people kind of got an appreciation of what people have to do and what swings and understudies actually have to do. And
Yeah.
you see it a lot with Six, especially. Um, they're dotting people who have not done the show for years are coming back, dotting up and down the country to play roles that they've not played into. It's amazing. It's such
Yeah.
an
I
incredible
think
feeling.
last night Hannah Lowther went to Sunderland to
She
play
did.
Howard.
She did. And that's amazing. I mean, she does it in London all the time, but
Mm.
to to just join a new cast that night and just kind of like go with the flow, It's an
Yeah.
amazing skill. I know, it's incredible. So yeah, I covered Eponine for the whole time I was there, and I said covered Fontaine. I was thrown on dramatically to play Fontaine during COVID, um, in London one day, and I didn't cover Fontaine at that point, but I was like,
Oh.
sure, I'll do it. But that was great fun. So yeah, and that's the one and only time I played Fontaine is that sort of dramatic.
Yeah.
Can you do it? I
I
win.
bet the thrill of being thrown on
Yeah.
last minute is just,
Oh, I loved it. I kind of love that sort of chaos
yes.
that falls, and I love when a swing is on, or if I'm playing opposite an understudy and the show slightly. I love that, and I think everyone who was there on the day, because I was part of the UK tour cast of Les Mis, and this was the West End cast that I was going into to play Fontaine. So I knew a lot of them, but I hadn't done a show with any of them in years.
Yeah.
And so they don't know what I didn't know what I was going to do. They didn't know what I was going to do, but they were all
Mm.
so brilliant and just kind of going, do whatever you want, we'll follow you. And
Yeah.
Matt, who's our conductor, he did the same thing with the band because obviously I've never sung the material. So he was like, you do what you do and I'll follow you. The whole it was amazing.
Nice. So, from a cover perspective, can you
Mhm.
talk to us about your personal process of learning material and retaining different tracks? Because you see this happen in the West End, people get thrown on as covers, but people don't realise the sheer work that goes
Yeah,
behind the scenes.
absolutely. Well, you have to, you're on a technical sort of legally, but you are paid from the moment you are hired. You are hired as an understudy. You are so and so understudy Eponine, let's say. So from day one of rehearsals, it is your job to learn what you're doing. Pick up this cut, put it there, sing this line, da da da, stand here, get this. But it's also your job to keep one eye on what they're telling Eponine to do,
Mm.
because you don't get, certainly in a rehearsal process, you don't get a chat, you don't get a shot to do it because they're too
Yeah.
busy. Everyone's trying to learn what they're doing, so they don't have time to go, all right, oh, shall we swap in? And so you always have to have an extra eye, and if you're covering two people, you have to know what they're doing from day one, from the moment you step into that rehearsal room, because you are paid, it is your job to learn it. And you can go on in the first week of performances. It's happened before. And so if you're like, oh, well, actually, I haven't had any rehearsals, so I don't actually know what I'm doing, they're like, no, you've been paid since day
Mm.
one, so it is your job. So I think I've always been very like aware of just how the bigger picture works, because I've always just it's just helpful to know, isn't it? Even if someone did, if I'm not a dance captain, if I wasn't a swing or something, if something does go wrong over there, me as a person on stage, I can help out because I know that, oh, Emily's not there now, so I will just do what Emily did because it's not, So I've always been aware of that. So I think that's such a huge thing as a cover, just to have a bigger eye on the big picture and learn it. As soon as you can put the book down and learn it, the better. Because then you're not thinking about what's my next line, what do I need to do?
Mm.
You just know the words, know the lines, and then everything else on top of that performance stuff that will happen like naturally and on the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, you just have to know it from day one. You just have to go in knowing that is your job as
Yeah.
well. There are
It's
thousands of
tough.
things to do.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine the
It's an amazing thrill though. It is an amazing thing to do. And then when you are on, you do get that buzz and you're prepared. If you're prepared for it, that's the thing. You're nervous. There's a difference between terrified of doing it because you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because if you don't know it, then you're terrified. But if you know it, you know it. It's
yeah.
just like, ooh, it's thrilling. So you want to get to that
Yeah.
point where it's thrilling and it's not like, oh no,
Yeah.
you have to go on.
Terrifying.
It shouldn't be terrifying because you know your stuff.
Yeah.
So it should be thrilling. And it is thrilling when you go on and you nail it and you're seeing all your friends who are on stage with you going like,
Yeah.
like that's really fun.
So nice.
Mm-hmm.
So when you moved over at the age of 20, I think you said,
Mm-hmm.
how was that change from going from Aberdeen to London? Because they're two very big cities.
Yeah. Yeah. It was massive. I mean, I had a couple of friends who lived here already, so I didn't feel like completely alone. But it's a long way. It's a long way from where my family is, where my friends are. Um, I can't nip on a train and go home at the weekend if I'm feeling a bit homesick. It was a huge change, and the pace of the city. We'd always been to London on like family trips and stuff, so I knew how big it was. I'd been there before, but I was like, it's very different living here and training and doing that all day, every day. I remember the first few weeks of first year, like we would finish college at like 5 or 6, I can't remember, and I would get home at like 7, and I would just be asleep by 7:30 because I was my body was so not used to working from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. like dancing for 4 hours and then doing and I for weeks I was like, I can't keep my eyes open past 8:30. Like
Yeah.
it was my but then you get used to it and your body
Yeah.
adapts and
And
like
having to cook for yourself, getting
oh
home,
yeah.
changing your bedding,
Yeah,
like,
washing, like going for food shop, and
yeah,
my parents were very good at that when before I was, and I did cook a lot at home, but little things, and it would always be I'm helping my mum or I'm helping my dad cook.
yeah,
I'm not, like doing my own like meal prep every day,
yeah,
all meals every day.
yeah. Like you have to feed yourself.
Yeah, you have to do it. Yeah, so that was a huge change, and you have to eat well as well, don't you, when you're training? Because you
Yes.
can't just have a McDonald's on a night, and you have to fuel your body with goodness, lots of
Hmm.
carbs, lots of pasta, lots of stuff. And I didn't know any of that. I was just like, fine, I'll just have this because it's cheap in Tesco. Got to go out as well.
So true. So, what advice would you give to people moving away from home? Because a lot of viewers are at that age where they're making that big change in their life.
Oh, I do think it's an amazing thing. I do think do it. I think even if it's to the town over or the city next door, like it's so important, like you said, to get your independence, to just see how other cities work, and especially a city like London where there's so many different cultures and there's so many different people and places to go to. London is huge, but Manchester is brilliant, Liverpool, York, like just go somewhere that is outside your little bubble of everyone that you've ever known being there. I think it's so important to do. Even for a year, 2 years, you can always go home. Like that's it.
Exactly.
If you hate it, you can always go back, but you'll never forget. I think it's so important. Even if you're not doing theatre, if you're not doing anything else, just move 10 miles down the road away from your mum and just see what just like get a sense of yourself. It's so important.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Like you say, it's
Yeah,
just that independence, isn't it?
yeah. Just a change and just to see other things.
Yeah, for sure.
Really.
Are you looking forward to touring with Heathers?
I am. I love touring. I actually really enjoy being on tour. Because it's different. It's a bit calmer than London, which I like. I mean,
Yes.
getting to theatres in London, being on the tube, being that bit like
Yeah.
but and I love being on tour, especially because like with a show like Heather's, where there are cities and there are people who have been desperate to see the show for years, and they can't nip down to London for like because it's expensive and that it's a long way to travel for a show. And so it's nice to bring a show like Heather's that people love to their city. And the amount of people I meet at stage door being like, I've waited 5 years to see this. I'm like,
Oh.
brilliant. Like that's so cool. And I love that. And the theatres are massive, which I
Mm.
love.
What is your favorite venue to tour in?
Ooh, that's hard. I do love, and we're going back to it, and I've been there a few times. I've actually been there probably the most in my career, the Wales Millennium Centre in Cardiff.
Nice.
I think it's a brilliant complex, not even a theatre. It's like and the sound is incredible. The theatre is really cool and it's huge. So I do like that. But then I also love going to like the old theatres like Buxton Opera House and like Bath Theatre Royal that are like
Wow.
have
Yes.
been there for years and years and years and years. Like I do so it's I'm caught between the brand new theatres that were built 10 years ago and also
Yeah.
ancient theatres where like Shakespearean actors were 400 years ago.
Wow.
I love
Yeah.
that sort of in between.
In the show, when you're backstage, like while the show's going on, do you have any hidden gems, things that you do every night to like a good luck thing with the cast?
We do a good luck thing, but it's not an us thing. It's an It's a thing that they started in LA when I don't know why I said it like
Wow.
that. LA, LA,
LA.
LA, in LA when they started the show, when they started workshopping it. So they do this thing and it's called Circle Time. And before every show, we all hold hands and we just hold hands like this, and then someone just says something like, it's not deep or anything. It's usually just like, oh, my friend was in last night and she absolutely loved it. So let's have a great show tonight, everyone. Have a good one. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and we all go, hey, yo, Westerberg, and that's it. And we break.
Oh,
So it's
so
like
cute.
it's very American. It's very sort of like team sort of thing. But I really do think it's a really lovely tradition that has started 10, 12 years ago, and it's still every single performance of Heather's will have that beginning. So that's the sort of thing. But I actually don't have any. I'm and I'm on purpose. I don't have any rituals that I do because I don't want to almost mess up my brain. If I don't do it, then I'll be like, oh my God, I'm gonna mess it.
Yes, yeah, like the
So I
psychological.
it's a psychological thing, yeah. So sometimes I'll have again like a Jakeman's. And now we all know they do nothing for your voice. It's not sweeties and things like anything you ingest does nothing for your voice. But sometimes it's a psychosomatic thing. But like, if I had a Jakeman's, I feel better.
Yeah,
Fine. I'll do
yeah.
that. So sometimes I do that, but no, I try not to do like I have to do this
Mm.
and this and this and this. Because if it doesn't happen and I have a bad show, then I'll blame it. I'll blame it entirely on that. So no, I try not to. Maybe there's one thing that I do is before when everyone's singing wine, 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 and I run off quickly after Shine a Light, I run backstage and I grab my trusty water bottle that comes everywhere with me, and I drink a bit of that before coming back on stage because then that's when I have to sing I Say No. So that's maybe the one thing that I do. But again, sometimes I go there and it's empty because I've not filled it up and I'm like, oh, never mind. And the other times there B, she's like, do you want me to fill it up? And I'm like, ah, it's fine. Like, so, but I try not to because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, what a show to be Veronica. That is just, that part is insane. How is the track?
It's a tough track. It's a crazy track. I don't know. I was speaking to people. I don't know if there's any other track like it that literally doesn't leave the stage for more than, I don't know how much it is. I really want to do I need to do like a timer check. It
Yeah, you
must be,
should.
I should like just actually how many seconds I have off stage. It's crazy. But then it makes the show go so quickly because like once we start, I'm like, well, here we go. See you
Yeah.
now. It's like once we're up, and that's fine. But yeah, it's a crazy track.
Yeah, it's
Really, but it's also the singing, but it's also the speaking that you have to do as well. All the lines, all the shouting, all the yeah, it's mad.
intense but fun,
Intense.
I assume very
Oh, very fun. Really, really
fun.
rewarding. It's great. There's so many little bits to her that isn't just it's not just one dimensional. I think she's really, really well written
Mm,
that you can have a bit of fun. It's quite serious. Sometimes it's really funny. At other times, like it's you get a full
for
range
sure.
of stuff to do. Yeah, as an
Yeah.
actor, which is great.
What would you say is your favorite song to sing?
Oh, certainly, I say no. Definitely. I just love that song. I think it's so good. So much fun. It's a stand, sing, like with Dead Girl Walking, you have to think about so much else that goes on. I mean, I love singing Dead Girl Walking as well.
Yeah, a lot goes on in that.
But a lot goes on. It's very technical. It's very like, right now, do this, da 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 da, ba da da ba. Make sure I'm breathing. Make sure this. Hold up there.
Yeah.
It's all that sort of stuff. Whereas I say no, it's just stand there, sing, lovely. I love it. That for me is my favorite one. Probably the favorite. I don't know. Do I love singing it more than when I got to sing out on my own and I dream? I don't know because those are iconic songs like On My Own and I
Mm,
Dream. But there's something, and it's just so powerful. I do love it.
yeah, very powerful song.
Yeah.
You can get your teeth into it.
Yeah, you really can. Just like when you finish it and then you're like, oh my God, I've done it. And you get to the
Yeah.
big wow at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God,
So good.
I've made it.
If you weren't playing Veronica,
Mhm.
what part would you want to play in Heather's?
Ooh. I would love to do, and I want to do this in the future. I'd love to do Fleming. I want to I
Yes.
want to do Fleming in a couple of years' time, 10 years' time or something. Bring me back. I'll do Fleming. I think that's so funny. You can have so much fun with her. And I love Martha. I think Kindergarten Boyfriend's a really nice song.
Yeah.
Such a lovely character. Like, yeah, I think Martha or Fleming,
Nice. Nice.
definitely.
Um, if in the future, if you could pick any role, any show, like ultimate dream, what would it be?
Ultimate dream? Gosh, I I don't know. I mean, there's the shows I would love to do. Um, but I think what I would love, 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 like ultimate dream is to be part of a show, a huge, like a part of a Wicked or a part of a Hamilton from the beginning. You know, imagine being in the room when they're all like creating, or a Les Mis, like original Les Mis. Like, I would love to be part of a show from its conception, creating a role and it like being this big, like, oh my God, I can't believe all the right people have come together at the right time to create this piece of theatre. And I don't know what that is. So I think that's my,
Yeah.
I'm always
And that's
looking for that.
quite thrilling as well because you could be
Mhm.
called in for a workshop and that could
Yeah,
be the next big thing.
that could be it. Exactly. And exactly right. So all these workshop things that you go to and like, oh my God, this could be it. And then you go and you're like, it's good fun. It's good fun. Is it the next thing? No, it's not, but it's great fun. But yeah, then you can, then you're part of something. It's like, oh, you get the buzz and everyone's singing it and you're like, oh my God, this could be it. I think that for me would be
Yeah.
ultimate. I love to do something like that.
So the schedule of being in a show is tough. I mean, you probably have to alter your whole routine, late nights.
Mhm.
How do you manage the work-life balance of getting home, winding down? I was talking to Hannah Lowther about this.
Mhm.
She was recently on my podcast and she said she really struggled with it. She was still navigating how
Yeah.
to use that time wisely.
Yeah, and I think there's also there's a bit of guilt. I think like attached to like during the day is our downtime. During the
Yeah.
day from in the morning and in the early afternoon, that's our downtime. So if you just stay in bed for a couple hours longer, you know, on your phone doing bits and stuff, or you just sit around watching TV, there's a bit of like, oh my God, I should be doing something. I should be going out and going to the gym and
Mm,
go. But then you've got to remember that is our evening. When people finish work at 5, they go home, they sit on the sofa and watch TV and catch up with the day. And but because the sun's out, there's suddenly that's that sort of like guilt attached to it. So I think that I for me for a long time I struggled with kind of going, oh, I actually it's okay to sit here, especially on a show like Heather's or Six, or it's something where I'm so busy. It's like when I get to rest, I'm really gonna take the time to do that. I'm not gonna feel bad about it.
mm,
And the late nights, yeah, it is hard. It is especially because my partner works normal hours in the morning, and so I kind of get up with him in the morning. But then I'm like, God, I'm so tired. So if I go back to sleep or something, I'm like, oh God, that's now it's 10:30. Is that too late? I don't know, you know.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I think I'm better at it now, and I don't stay up too late. I get if I'm in bed by like 1:30, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good going. Get my get my hours in, and I'm awake usually by 9, 10ish.
Yeah. Which isn't
So
too bad
which is
considering.
no, no, exactly. And then, but I don't do much in the morning, or like, you know, my day will start at like after 12. Like, so the morning is I'm doing nothing
Yeah.
unless I have to do something. But, you know, I'm not like, I'm not nipping, I'm not going out and meeting a friend at 11. It's like,
Mm.
absolutely not. See you too. Bye. See you. Like, so I'm like not strict on that, but that's just like, and I don't feel bad about it anymore.
It
I'm like,
works
it's okay.
better for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I need that time and that's okay. Yeah.
How do you navigate making your food? Do you meal prep?
I my lovely boyfriend does so much cooking and stuff. So
Oh,
he'll just like cook. Well, we both will, and we'll cook like 3 lots of food or like 4 lots. We'll just cook far too much, and then we'll have loads left over for a couple of days. So yeah, I do try meal because it's cheaper one as well, and it's
yeah.
easier to just have it in the theater, and I'll take it in. So yeah, I try and do. But again, it's just like bulky stuff. Like I'll make loads of bolognese or loads of chicken or loads of whatever it is that I'm having that day. I won't just cook for 2, I'll cook for 6 and then just keep
Yeah.
some of it. And that's just kind of been a thing forever. So yeah, I try to do that. 'Cause, one, I'm cheap. So that is so much easier. And also it is just massively easier when
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
around in between shows. You don't know what do I want? What do I want? I don't like eating too much in between shows. Like I had a burrito from Chipotle the other day in between shows, and I was like, I'm gonna throw up. This is too much in me. So I was like, right, so I just need a little bit anyway. So
Yeah, yeah. How will you navigate that on tour? I mean, you won't
The
have
same.
your boyfriend to meal prep for you then.
I know, although he still does. He's just so cute. So like on a Saturday, Sunday, a Sunday, Monday, we've got off. So he
Yeah.
will cook loads, and then on Monday I'll just take like little four boxes away with me.
Oh.
But but again, because I drive as well, that's a big thing about being on tour. I will
Yes,
say
needing a car.
a car, yes, is it's helpful, but I haven't always had a car. But what I've always had is like a kitchen box or like a kitchen bag or something. So I always have like just salt, pepper, spices, sriracha, oil, and just like very, very, very basic things.
Yeah.
And I will take that everywhere, even if I'm not driving or whatever. I'll make up space in my suitcase for it because that I find is so easy to for cooking on tour. And again, it's just the bulky stuff because you end up just spending so much money if you're eating out. If you're going to Nando's every day, like it's fine for a one-off. I'm not saying I never do it, but every day it gets expensive and it's just
Yeah.
it's boring. So I do that. And also I'm very good at if you an easy one to do when you're on tour is like to buy those like microwavable pots of veg, like
Mm,
buy a microwavable or like a sauce, a pasta sauce that you shove in the microwave as well, and a protein or like a chicken. Get the cooked chicken breast thing,
yes.
like a picnic on the picnic area. Just
Yeah.
do that, mix it all up, and then it's just like some sort of it tastes usually pretty good because I'll pick a
Yeah.
nice sauce, but that is an easy way to get a good meal that's not gonna and it's all the goodness,
Yeah.
but it's
And
not quite
quick,
as meat.
cheap.
Yeah, so that's a huge thing. But yeah, the little tour bag, I love.
That's that. I've never heard that before. That's clever.
And another thing I do, which if you're going on tour everywhere, I mean, I must have them everywhere, but every time I'm in like McDonald's or Nando's or something like that, and you get like the little sachets of tomato ketchup, mayo, salt,
Yes.
pepper, sugar, grab handfuls, pocket, handfuls, and I will keep them in my dressing room so that when I'm like, oh, I need some sugar, oh, got some. So handy. Mayo, the little
Good.
sachet of mayo.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
a good one. Everywhere you are, I'll just handfuls of them in the pockets to keep
So good.
in my
So
dressing room.
good. How does the accommodation work then on tour with Heather's? Because I know that different contracts can be different. Do they sort it for you?
No, so generally in the UK, if you're touring in the UK, you have to book your own accommodation. You get
Yeah.
you get paid to do it. You get, I think the minimum is £365 a week
Yes.
to pay for your accommodation. And you can do with that money whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can go on Airbnb. There's loads of Facebook groups that have like thousands of members, like theatre digs.
Yeah.
Um,
The
so yeah, you
theatres sometimes can give you a list as well, can't they?
yeah, theatre lists, yeah, exactly. And you can, and a lot of them will just send it out like ahead of time. Stay with friends, stay with family. You can do whatever you want. If you leave the UK, then they put you up in accommodation. So when we were in Dublin last year, we were all put up in apartments and things like that. We went to Zurich with Les Mis. Again, we were
Wow.
put up in apartments and things like that. But yeah, generally in the UK, you're on your own, which is fine. Again, you get used to it, and I think my advice for booking digs is spend the money because I've done it both ways where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna spend like 25 quid tonight and stay in this really shitty little thing. And I'm like, yeah. And you realize why it's 25 quid and you're
Yeah, you
miserable.
get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. And if it's a horrible place and you don't feel comfortable there, you will do everything you can to leave the flat early because you're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to be here, so I'm just going to leave. So then you're only spending 25 quid, but you're spending a tenner on coffee a day because you're out there so early. This meal, because you're not. I would say spend the money on nice digs. You're away from home. You're in a different city. You want somewhere to go back to and go.
Yeah.
The end of the day, lovely. You do not want to be in a dingy, horrible place. I've done both and definitely spend it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Do you
fun.
stay with other cast members as well? Does that make it
Yeah,
cheaper?
yeah, but cheaper. Yeah, it's sometimes because then you get a big house that's got 5 bedrooms and you're all paying this same. But it's also really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun to stay with cat. But absolutely, a lot of the time because we're all going on tour now, so a lot of the time people will say, "Oh, hi," put into the WhatsApp group like, "I've got a 3 bed in Perth. Who wants in?" So then people go, "Me, me, me." Poo.
Yeah.
That's the done. So yeah, absolutely. So it's very random, and I've been to a lot of these cities already, so I kind of have already places. But yeah, I've got a couple of two, three beds where I've just gone, who wants to come and stay with me this week? And they're like, me. So it's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice. It's very random and but yes, absolutely. And it is fun to share with because it's like sleepovers with your friends every night.
Yeah,
Which is
so fun.
yeah.
Go to work with them and then go home with them.
And go home and have a sleepover. Watch films.
So fun. With the cast, are you all quite close?
Yeah. And I think with Heather's you get well with any cast, but certainly with Heather's, there's a lot of time together. I mean, I feel like every time I'm on stage, everyone's off stage, and then every time everyone's on stage, I'm off. So I find that so it's like being on tour is really helpful for getting close, I think, to cast, certainly for me in my track, because
Yeah.
that's when I get to hang out with people, is when we do little day trips, when we go to, I don't know, like the bath, we're going to bath spas, and stuff when we're in Bath.
Oh, nice.
Just
Yeah.
kind of like hanging out with people. Um, but yeah, definitely, it's a nice, it's a close knit group, that everyone gets on. So in our tour last year, we were all really, really good friends. And we still are really, really good friends. A lot of them have come to see the show in London, and
Oh,
it's just really nice. You just meet people, and
so
you just make
wholesome.
friends with people. Yeah, it's really nice. It is a really nice building to come into every day. Everyone, like the whole company,
Hmm.
um, CSM, ASMs, and all that as well. All just get on, which is
Great. Yeah, that's
easy,
really good.
easy.
Yes. Easy mode.
Yeah, which we love. We love.
Yeah. Obviously, the Heathers fan base is huge. So much going on social media.
Mhm.
How do you cope with that? Because there's like the stage door element of it, and then there's the social media element of it. As supportive as it can be, there must be like a line or a limit where you have to say, now I'm working, now I'm not.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's knowing when to kind of like shut off. I've been because I've been friends with people who've got quite a big following or have got that sort of fame element to them. And I think even before starting this, just seeing how they deal with it, and they've been dealing with it for years and years, I'm like, right, okay, so there's a way to do it and way to go about it. And also in the night, it's like it's not that deep. Like it's really not. Like I'm not if someone online, if I see a message from someone online that's like, she's not my favorite Veronica. That listen, Jessica 14 from Blackpool, that's fine. You're allowed. I think that's brilliant that you've got an opinion. That's great. It doesn't hurt my feelings because I don't mind if you
Yeah,
don't like it. That's absolutely fine. So I think I've kind of I don't really go looking for it, and if I see it, I'm like, great. But generally, it's been really positive, and I think generally the fans love the show so much that it doesn't matter who's doing it; they just love whoever's doing it. And I think that's
yeah,
what's nice about it. I don't feel maybe I'm not on the right side of TikTok or Instagram or whatever, but I don't see any negative stuff really
that's good.
about
Yeah.
anyone that I've ever done the show with or myself or anything like that. So, um, yeah, I think it
I
is a
feel like the
lovely.
fan base in general is supportive, like
Yeah,
such a nice group of people.
exactly. They are. They love the show and they love whoever's doing it because it means the show is on.
Yeah.
So they're happy. But a lot generally, they're really sweet people who just have given up their time. They've traveled a lot, sometimes a long way
Mm.
to see the show, to come to Stage Door, to meet you. Like it's really nice. It's really sweet. And it won't happen on many shows. So if this is what I've got to do for like a year, 2 years, fine. That's
Mhm.
absolutely fine by me. If it means the world to them, it makes
Yeah.
no difference to me if I stay 15 minutes later after a show to do Stage Door than if I don't. Like
Yeah.
it makes no
Oh,
difference to me.
that's yeah, really
It's
nice.
sweet. Yeah, and I love meeting people. I think it's really nice, and they tell me it's the first time they've been to the theater, the first show they've seen, all this.
Oh,
It's brilliant.
yeah. The
It's so
last
nice.
question I always ask my podcast guests is if you could nominate someone to come on this podcast and I'll reach out to them, who would it be?
Ooh, who would be interesting to speak to? I think someone like who's been in the industry for years, so who's seen all the changes, who was maybe in the industry before social media, before the internet. Like I'm trying to think of some sort of like Sophie Louise Dan, she's in Wicked right now, and I've worked with her. She's an icon. She's brilliant,
Okay.
and she's
Yes.
got lots of good stories. But she's been around since, and she's also managed to navigate social media. She's quite good on social media as well, having trained and been in it in the industry without it for ages. So maybe someone like her, or trying to think of all the uh, there's a woman, again, amazing actress, Vivian Parry, who I did Les Mis with years ago. She's maybe someone like that who's been around,
Yes.
seen
That
the
would be
different
very
changes,
interesting.
social changes, and also
Yes.
media changes, and how the country, and just see how they see it, maybe,
Yeah,
and get a different perspective. And also
definitely.
important for your followers to know that success doesn't mean like as long as you've been like, if you're working in this industry and you're 50 years old, 60 years old, and like nobody knows your name, that's still successful. That
Yeah.
means you're working. You don't have to
Oh
have
yeah.
and six and have a name, have a following to be considered a success. Working is successful.
Yeah, for sure. That's really important. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Jenna, it's been a dream. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
I hope everyone that has been listening, watching has enjoyed, and we'll see you all next week. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.